years ago, I had to plant a garden for a project, and I had to take care of it, and I had to harvest it. That's when I decided that I liked to garden. I want to be able to get you guys excited about gardening and be able to give you information to help you have a successful garden. I know there's some of you that know how to plant a garden already, and I want to be able to give you some information to maybe have a more successful garden. And for those who don't know how to, I want you to be able to know how to. I'm going to talk about preparation, taking care of a garden, and harvesting. There are a couple of ways to plant a garden. There's square foot gardening, raised bed, and vertical gardening. And these are the most popular because they're the most effective and they kind of go hand in hand with each other. So square foot gardening is a way that you can use as much space as possible and when you have little space, you can use all the plants that you can in the little space. And vertical gardening is kind of like square foot gardening, where usually you can only plant one tomato per square foot, but when you have use vertical, you can do two, and you just make them go different ways. And then raised bed is where it's in a box and you use soil, good soil, and it's good for water drainage, and you can reach your plant more. In an article written in 2005 by Nancy Garrison, a master gardener, she says, "Do not grow horizontally what you can grow vertically. Vine crops such as tomato, squash, cucumber, and pole beans use a great deal of space when allowed to grow along the ground." And then this is what it looks like. Now that we've talked about how we're going to plant, we're going to talk about what to plant. So in deciding what you want to plant, keep in mind that some of the plants are permanent, so you want to pick a permanent space, like raspberries or blueberries or stuff like that. There are also many different varieties, so you want to do your research and decide which one tastes the best and which one is disease resistant and grows best in your area. Once you know what you're going to plant, it's time to start the seeding process. This is a peat pellet, and my family has found that this is the best way to start your garden because it's easy for small seeds. The cold weather plants you want to start at the beginning of February, and like cabbages and beets. And for tomatoes and peppers and like pumpkins all the summer and fall, you want to start at the end of February or beginning of March. And with beets and carrots, you want to do succession planting, which is 2 to 3 week intervals when you put the seeds in, so that it's a continuous supply of vegetables. And then when the weather starts to get warmer, you want to put them outside on the porch and then take them inside at night so that they can get used to the outdoors. And you do this for a couple weeks, and then you can plant them out in your garden. Now that we've talked about preparing it, we're going to talk about taking care of your garden. You can't just put the plants in the garden and then leave them throughout the season. You want to water and fertilize your garden. You'll need to weed your garden regularly so that the weeds don't choke out the plants and don't take the nutrients from the ground. And then you can start fertilizing. So feeding, Kathy Lalibert is a founding employee of Gardener's Supply. She says, "A recent poll by the National Gardening Association revealed that most gardeners do not fertilize their plants. Yet there's no easier way to improve plant health, pest and disease resistance, flower and fruit production, and overall beauty." She recommends purchasing an organic fertilizer because you have to fertilize every 2 to 3 weeks. And then there are many of them, so you just need to research and see which one works best for your garden. Watering is another important process in your garden. You want to use a drip system, because if you use a sprinkler, then it gets on the leaves and they stay wet and it can cause disease and mold. And the best time to water is in the morning so that the plants can use the water throughout the day. Thinning and pruning is another important part of planting. There are many reasons to do it. It will eliminate weak, dead branches, promote further growth, increase air and sunlight circulation, and monitoring the maintenance of your plants will help better the fruit yield. Beets and radishes need to be thinned so that you can get the biggest size of beets and radishes that you can. Now that we've talked about the preparing and the taking care of, we're going to talk about the harvesting. So they're a little different in when you harvest, because tomatoes, you want them to be ripe, and as for peppers and stuff, you can pick them when they're immature. Squash and cucumbers taste better when they're immature. They're less bitter. Some plants, like lettuce, instead of just pulling them by the root, you cut them, and then they'll continue to grow throughout the season. After the harvest is done, then you need to prepare your space for the next year. So you pull out all the dead stuff, and then you rototill it so that the dirt is all mixed up. Bonnie Plants is an organization that has been selling plants and produce since 1918, and they wrote an article about crop rotation called Rotating Vegetable Crops for Garden Success. And it says, it's important to prevent crop-specific pests and diseases from building up and carrying over from one season to the next in the soil. If you move the crop, the problem has no host on which to live. Ideally, rotate a vegetable or vegetable family so it grows in a particular spot only 1 year out of 3. We've now talked about preparation, taking care of the garden, and harvesting your garden. So now that you know it, I hope you're excited about it, and you'll be able to do a successful garden. A quote by Robert Brault says, if you've never experienced the joy of accomplishing more than you can imagine, plant a garden. I love gardening, and it's cheaper than therapy, and you can get tomatoes. Right there.
Yay!
How much time was it?
7 minutes 19 seconds.
You might want to cut out that.
It's
a bird!
Okay, so how do I play it back now?
That's not what it
You want to make sure that the sound is good and you can actually hear it.
That's only because you were trying to take the broom back up. We only had 2 broken brooms.